But first, let's define what is martial arts. So to me, martial arts is the art of combat. It's the study and practice of kicking ass. What's up guys, I'm Nguyen, OG Fitness. Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new, this channel is all about fitness for martial arts for older guys. Now, if you're young, not for long. So in this video, I'm gonna answer the question that I see a lot, that I get a lot. What is the best martial art? Well, I'm here to tell you that's absolutely the wrong freaking question. Now, a better question, a superior question is, who is the best martial artist of all time? So that's what this video is going to focus on, but I'm not going to leave you hanging. Why does the question, what is the best martial art, not make any sense? Why is it a crappy question? Well, I'll tell you why. What if I were to ask you, what is the best food on the planet? Let that sink in for a second. What is the best food on the planet? You know, right? Same thing. It doesn't make any sense because there's just so much good food out there, and it's going to depend on your taste, and it's going to depend on a variety of factors. So a better question is, who is the best cook on the planet? Now, if we were to try to figure out who is the best cook, in my opinion, the best cook would be the guy who can do it all and who could adapt to his clientele, to the person he's cooking for. It would be somebody who sits there and then be like, hey, what do you feel like eating today? Do you feel like this type of cuisine, blah, 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 whatever. And then he would be able to, using his knowledge of everything, put something together to make a perfect meal for whoever he's serving. So now in martial arts, I would say it's the same thing. It's just as complex, if not more complex, in my opinion. But first, let's define what is martial arts. So to me, martial arts is the art of combat. It can, of course, serve different purposes, such as self-defense, sports and competition, cultural preservation, of course, physical fitness. But at the core, it's the study and practice of kicking ass. So at the end of the day, when somebody asks you, what's the best martial art? Well, there is none. Some are more conducive to certain things than others. Some are better at certain aspects of fighting than others. So now, asking what the best martial art is kind of a silly question. It's really not the martial art. It's about the martial artist. So it's not about the ingredients. It's about the cook who knows what ingredients to use, how much, and at what time, and adapt it to the situation. Even if I were to tell you, oh, Muay Thai is the best striking art, but if you suck, the martial art will suck, right? You will express the martial art in a sucky way. You will make Muay Thai look bad because you won't be a very good representation of Muay Thai because you suck as a martial artist. Essentially, any martial art works if you know how to work it. And that's dependent on how good you are as a martial artist. For those of you guys who are new, of course, I have a slight preference for learning how to fight using combat sports. And then after that, looking at tacking on everything else, all the self-defense aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it, the sports competition aspect of it, the fitness aspect of it, the things that martial arts bring to the table. Let's define what is a martial artist. A martial artist is somebody who is in the pursuit of excellence in the art of combat. And through the art of combat, there are a couple of things that you will develop along the way. Through martial arts, people tend to develop physical strength, mental strength, and even spiritual strength. As a martial artist, the traits that are held in high regards in the martial art world are respect, discipline, humility, self-control. So all these things are things that you develop, that you are taught when you learn and practice martial arts, which is the beauty of martial arts, because all of this carries over to life in general. So who is the best martial artist of all time? Well, it's going to depend a lot on the criteria that you put down. And what I did was that I looked this up. I typed it into ChatGPT, and these are the top 10 that ChatGPT considers the best of all time. First up, Bruce Lee, known for his exceptional speed, power, and philosophy of martial arts. Bruce Lee revolutionized martial arts in both film and practice. I agree. Definitely agree. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. Huge. He's the one who inspired me, among millions of people, to take up martial arts. Next up, Miyamoto Musashi. A legendary Japanese swordsman, Musashi is famous for his undefeated record in duels and his work, The Book of Five Rings, which is considered a classic treatise on strategy and martial arts philosophy. If you guys don't know who Musashi is yet, you gotta look it up. And those of you guys who know, I'm gonna tell you something super interesting. Miyamoto Musashi might not even have existed. Very controversial. I'll look into it and I'll see what I can dig up. But if any of you guys know, let me know. And the reason why he was completely fabricated and made up, and the Book of Five Rings, was because after the war, Japan was down and out. And they needed something to boost up the morale of the people. So then somebody might or might not have written this Book of Five Rings, fabricated this whole story about Musashi and all that, so that they would use this to pick up the Japanese people's spirit so that they could move onward and with that samurai mentality so that they can do what they needed to do to get back on the world stage and regain what they lost in terms of honor and dignity and whatnot. Next up, Helio Gracie. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu pioneer, Helio Gracie developed the art alongside his brother Carlos Gracie. His innovations in ground fighting and leverage-based techniques revolutionized martial arts worldwide. Innovations in ground fighting and leverage-based techniques. I completely agree with all of this. My first grappling art, for those of you guys who don't know, was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before Judo. Next up, Mas Oyama, founder of Kyokushin Karate. Mas Oyama was known for his incredible strength, rigorous training methods, and promotion of full contact karate competitions. Guys, Mas Oyama, oh man, they made a movie about his life, and it was not a Hollywood movie, but it was a Korean movie, and it was called Fighter in the Wind. You guys gotta watch that if you haven't seen it. Amazing story. I don't know how much of it was fictionalized, probably bits and pieces here and there. Next up, Jishin Funakoshi, often referred to as the father of modern karate. Funakoshi introduced Okinawan martial arts to mainland Japan and played a significant role in popularizing karate worldwide. Well guys, karate is karate. Who doesn't know what karate is? And for those of you guys there was a period where karate was the shit, and then it wasn't the shit, and then it came back on the scene in a strong way through guys like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Lyoto Machida, hell, George St. Pierre. Next up, Ip Man, a highly skilled practitioner of Wing Chun Kung Fu. Ip Man is best known for being the teacher of Bruce Lee. He played a crucial role in preserving and promoting Wing Chun. No one could deny that Ip Man, Wing Chun, he made it so popular. And of course, there was Bruce that made it, blew it up as well. And it still lives on today. And in Wing Chun, a very, very interesting system, fighting system. Mind you, like any system, no system is complete. But this one has a dear place in my heart. Like, I criticized it before without understanding it. And before criticizing it, I actually, because it was the martial art that Bruce Lee started with, I was actually very for it, very pro Wing Chun, thinking that it had some kind of superpower to it. And then when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and started watching MMA and all that, that's when I kind of fell out of love with these traditional arts and criticized them in certain ways. But now I pretty much came full circle and realized that, you know what, it's all about the martial artists. And some martial arts are better at certain things than others, but hey, it's how you're able to put it together and how you use it properly and accordingly to the situation when needed. Next up, Jigoro Kano. So what kind of list would this be if we didn't have the founder of Judo? So Jigoro Kano's emphasis on technique, efficiency, and mutual benefit laid the foundation for modern grappling martial arts. Woof, woof. That, guys, yeah, that was deep. I 100% agree. So, by the way, each one of these guys, man, I should make a video and research this and give you my perspective of how I understand it. And you know what? A great way to learn history is to learn martial arts, is to study where the martial arts come from, to dive into the history of the martial art. And it makes it so much more interesting if you're not already super interested in history. Next up, Morihei Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido. Ueshiba's martial art focuses on harmonizing with an opponent's energy and redirecting it rather than meeting force with force. Guys, Aikido, super popular martial art. A lot of controversy in this day and age about how effective it actually is, but for the most part, I think that people miss the big picture and they don't understand the principles of it. I'll have to make a video on that because I think I have, but I should make another one and look into it. But Aikido has its place in the martial art world. 1000%, in my opinion. Next up, Jet Li. Jet Li, renowned for his prowess in wushu. Jet Li's performance in martial arts film have captivated audiences worldwide and he has contributed to the popularization of Chinese martial arts. Oh man, I remember when Jet Li came on the scene. This was when he came on the scene in Asia. So he started making these Hong Kong movies. And I first discovered him in Once Upon a Time in China. Wow, this guy made you dream of what was possible. And it was beautiful to watch him on film. And I think that he did bring it up a level. Because after Bruce, there was Jackie Chan, but Jackie Chan was doing his own thing. He was more of a stunt guy. He made things funny. He put a lot of humor into his style. But then it was only when Jet Li came along that's when you're like, oh man, this guy's badass. This guy is like traditional kung fu. Not because Bruce wasn't traditional, guys. Bruce was the godfather of MMA. Like he just took everything and just like, yeah, whatever, let's just take whatever works and just beat the living crap out of people. And everything else is garbage. And he was against tradition. And then Jackie Chan was doing his thing. And then Jet Li came. And he was just pure tradition. Pure traditional Chinese martial arts. And you see this guy move and you're like, absolutely freaking amazing. Next up, Anderson Silva. Anderson the Spider Silva. Dominant force in mixed martial arts. Silva's precision, fluidity, and versatility in striking and grappling have made him one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Oh man, I remember when I started watching UFC, it was the time of GSP and Anderson Silva when they got to a point where, actually I started watching them way before that, way before they started talking about those two actually fighting each other and making like a catch weight. But yeah, Silva was the shit. He would just beat the living crap out of people. So confident, so precise, amazing Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. And he was, man, at that time, invincible. Guys, these are the top 10 greatest martial artists of all time, according to ChatGPT. I mean, that's all I wrote in. I wrote in, who are the 10 greatest martial artists of all time? And that's what it gave me. I didn't put in any kind of criteria, but this is a discussion worth having. Depending on what criteria you have, then things are going to be different. And even then, we could talk about time periods, right? Because some guys on this list were like, dates back from pretty long. So maybe the right way to do it would be to look at eras and having criteria that we established beforehand. Maybe even countries, because each countries have great martial artists. And some of these guys have never met each other because, well, back then there was no planes. So guys, let me know what you think. What are your top 10 greatest martial artists of all time? And help me make a list of criteria so that we can figure out who are the greatest martial artists of all time. And from there, we can really learn a lot from this sort of discussion. What made them great? Their life experiences that made them who they became, that we still talk about to this day. So I don't know if that would be a criteria, but maybe we could add that in there somewhere. But I'm going to come up with a list of my criteria and we're going to talk about this because this is a discussion worth having. Who is the greatest martial artist? Not what is the best martial art. And that's it for this video, guys. Love you.